Coming up on today's recap and review of Raw, Otis finally stands up to Chad Gable, the first competitor for the Money in the Bank announced, who will walk away from Clash of the Castle as World Heavyweight Champion, and more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to another video. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for 100 subscribers. I've been taking this seriously for like 3 weeks, and this is the fastest I've ever grown on anything ever. You guys are the best. I mean it. And I promise I'll do my best to keep improving my content, starting with this video. So let's get into it. The show opened picking up where we left off last week with Liv Morgan and Dominik Mysterio. I thought the way this would play out would be with Liv Morgan revealing that her and Dominik have had this secret relationship going on this entire time, which would have been like, oh dang, Dominik is in huge trouble. You know, it would have been really funny. But it turns out that Dominik doesn't really approve or agree with what's going on, which means that all of this that Liv Morgan is doing is kind of questionable morally. Legally, which, isn't funny. I'm just saying, if it were me in that position, it would not be a problem because I would have folded immediately. What are we talking about? Wrestling, right, wrestling. Finn Balor rushes out and stops Liv Morgan from whatever she's doing. Attaboy Finn, we like consent around here. We'll see more of all those guys later on. Next we got Fight Night with Sheamus taking on Ludwig Kaiser, and definitely the best match of the night. And this was not pretty. They were slapping each other, spitting on each other. The ref almost called the match because Sheamus' leg was in so much pain. But Sheamus is the GOAT, he doesn't go out that easy. However, Kaiser was able to shut down a white noise attempt from the top rope, pinning him for the 1-2-3. This match was pretty intense, and it was a pretty big decision to have Ludwig Kaiser beat Sheamus clean. I have a feeling pretty soon he's going to be a huge star in his own right. It's just so sad we had to sacrifice Giovanni Vinci to get there. After that, we had Judgment Day versus Mexicans plus Braun. First up was Dragon Lee versus Finn Balor, in a match that only went around 5 minutes, which, considering what these two are capable of, I feel a little robbed. Dragon Lee went all high flyer here for us, diving through the ropes, backflipping through a clothesline into a powerbomb, which is pretty sick, and leaping onto Carlito on the outside from the top rope. But thanks to a distraction, Finn Balor easily gets the coup de grace for the 1-2-3. You're going to be seeing a lot of distraction finishes tonight. Like I said, this match could have been a million times better if we just gave these guys more time. So Balor and Carlito start jumping Dragon Lee when Braun Strowman and Rey Mysterio rush to the save, but Braun pretty easily handles it himself. Heading backstage, Damien is pretty pissed off that Braun Strowman is just walking all over the Judgment Day. So he tells Carlito to set up a match between himself and the big SOB. I'm not sure if Damien actually thought Carlito could pull this off, or if he just wanted to see him get completely unalived by Braun Strowman. Now here's the best part of Raw. Sami Zayn comes out to the ring and calls out Chad Gable face to face, because he's pretty tired of getting attacked from behind every single week. Spoiler alert, this does not work. The Alpha Academy walk out, and Maxine has a written letter that Chad Gable wants her to read to Sami. In it, Chad Gable says that Sami Zayn is an idiot for trying to turn the Alpha Academy against him, and that his teachings have actually changed their careers for the better. Which, yeah, is kind of true, but that doesn't excuse, all the abuse. He says that without him, Tozawa was, pretending to be a ninja backstage, and then Otis, he couldn't even hold on to his own Money in the Bank contract. He also says that Sami Zayn owes him a one-on-one shot for the Intercontinental Championship. So if he wants any of this chaos to stop, he needs to give him the match. Sami, being the sweetheart he is, accepts the challenge, for the sake of the Academy. And again, he tries to convince the Alpha Academy, to leave Chad Gable. Even referencing his time, being abused by the Bloodline, which, heart-wrenching stuff. It's really cool to see these wrestlers, cool lessons they've learned over the past couple of years, from other storylines into new storylines. It kind of feels like a reward for watching the show for so long. Before the Academy has time to respond, Gable attacks him from behind. A real shocker. However, Gable then demands Otis to attack Sami, which he clearly does not want to do, which Gable does not like, and he even starts to push him. Then, unexpectedly, Tozawa timidly tries to hold Chad Gable back, which infuriates Gable to the point where he's yelling at Tozawa, yelling at Maxine at the top of his lungs. Then it finally happened. Otis stands right up to Gable so that he can't hurt the Academy. And that one thing probably got the biggest pop of the night from the fans. So while Chad Gable is, pooping his pants, Sami finally gets his revenge by blindsiding Gable for the first time. The two scrap for a bit, but when Otis is hugging the Alpha Academy, Gable pushes Sami into Otis, causing Maxine and Tozawa to fall to the ground. Unfortunately, Gable frames Sami as doing this on purpose, which convinces Otis to turn back to the dark side and slam the champion. The segment ends with Gable holding the IC title and Otis carrying the Alpha Academy to safety. They absolutely cooked with this storyline. Otis is a top 10 character of all time. I love how much he cares about his friends, and I really want the best for him. So let's talk about Clash at the Castle. I do really want Chad Gable to win the IC title. You know, I love my perk Gable and all that, but I do think we're starting to draw out this Alpha Academy thing a bit too long. So if they finally turn on Gable at this PLE, you know, causing him the match, I'll be fine with that. That's pretty good. As long as Chad Gable forms the Sigma Academy with the Creed brothers after. You do all of that, I am on board. Alright, what's next? Ricochet finally gets his match with Braun Breaker after being, you know, assaulted by him for the past few weeks. The poor guy just keeps getting more and more taped up after each episode. Actually, please put more on him next Monday. I really want to see how far we go with this. And it's not often that Ricochet gets outshined in a match, but Braun Breaker is just a different animal. He ran the ropes faster than, you know, anyone ever has. And this Frankensteiner off the top rope, that was beautiful. After that, he delivered a spear for the 1-2-3. But he wasn't done yet. He tried to end Ricochet like he ended Dale Dixon. But thankfully, Ilya Dragunov came for the save. You know, after this whole segment, I started thinking to myself, if only there was a title that can be used to put some spotlight on these extremely talented and entertaining mid-card guys that isn't being completely wasted on a part-timer who has a schedule worse than Roman Reigns. And as someone points out in my comments, it's not Logan Paul's fault. It's the WWE's fault for not forcing him to come to work. Every video is going to turn into a Logan Paul rant. I gotta stop. We also had the debut match of Kiana James against veteran Natalya. And for what its goal was, which was just, you know, get Kiana out there, get her used to the crowd, and get her a win, this was a pretty good match. Kiana was stuck in a wrist lock, so she did a front handspring to get out of it, and I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. But then Natalya did the exact same thing. I was like, dang, I really forget how good Natalya is. And they had a great back and forth here until Kiana hit this, unfortunately, mid finisher. Judgment Day versus Mexicans plus Braun. This was the Braun part. So we had Carlito versus Strowman, and this went a staggering 1 minute and 13 seconds. Braun let Carlito get some kicks in, but by the 20-second mark, Carlito was looking like this. Even when the Judgment Day came to interfere, Braun easily took them out with no problem, and planted Carlito face first for the 1-2-3. So Finn Balor and JD try to jump Braun after the match, but clearly they haven't learned from 30 seconds ago, because Braun destroyed them again. But this time was different. Dirty Dom ran out to get on in the action. But after Braun punched right through his chair, he decided running away was a better idea. However, right before he was caught, Liv Morgan stands right in Braun's way. Being a little confused, Braun is left open, and the Judgment Day finally take him down. It only took, 4 guys, a chair, a girl, and 3 weeks. Liv Morgan wasn't done, however, as she tries to make more advances on Dom, which he just isn't feeling. He's clearly walking backwards. And thankfully, Finn Balor breaks it up. Our GOAT, Finn Balor, stands for consent. Then we had the Women's Tag Championship match, with the Muscle Mommies taking on Naruto Uzumaki and Zoe Stark. It's 3 a.m. What am I even saying, man? Okay, so when Bianca and Jade eventually do lose these titles, there's no way it's a clean finish, right? They're literally better in every way compared to any other team. You would need Rhea Ripley and Rhea Ripley again. You need 2 of them to beat this team. So I'm thinking they lose the titles due to some kind of interference, or, Jade Cargill finally turns on Bianca Belair. After all, she was a heel in AEW, so it would make sense. I could see it happening. Oh yeah, the match was good, but Alba Fire and Isla Dawn caused a DQ. So I'm expecting a 6-woman tag match at Clash at the Castle. Oh, I guess they could lose it in that kind of match, by not getting pinned. Duh. Next, Jey Uso came out to make a huge announcement, but it went down a little awkward. Look, I don't blame the fans for chanting yeet after everything he says. After all, he's played into it. It's really fun to say, and he's been positive, strictly positive for the past few months. However, the problem is that he decided to get really vulnerable out of nowhere. He started talking about his trauma and the abuse. I'm laughing. That sounds awful. Okay. Well, the reason why I'm laughing is because after he would talk about, all the trauma he went through with the bloodline, some of the fans would chant yeet. It was like they didn't know when it was appropriate to say yeet or not. Like, imagine if you went to your therapist and you're just like, I don't know, just ever since my grandfather passed away, I just haven't been the same. Yeet. What the You get what I'm saying? So he announces that he plans on becoming the 2024 Mr. Money in the Bank, which I think would be really cool. Sadly, deep down, I don't picture Jey Uso ever being a main champion. I know. It hurts to say. I just have a gut feeling. But if he does what Austin Theory does and cashes it in like on the US title and the Intercontinental title, I honestly believe he would be successful in cashing it in. So Jey Uso, you have my blessing. I am skipping the New Day versus Final Testament. I'm not sure if anyone really cares about this storyline. If you do, I am very sorry. Judgment Day versus Mexicans. Damien Priest versus my hero, Rey Mysterio. Rey is so cool doing springboard moonsaults onto the outside. However, with such a size difference, he kept getting overpowered by Damien Priest. And what I like about Priest is just because he's a bad guy doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Like, he was constantly telling Rey during the match that he doesn't want to keep hurting him and just stay down. Something you would never hear Braun Breaker say. That guy is, the spawn of... But Rey hung in there, even hitting a 619, which almost made me believe. Almost. And he also hit this amazing corkscrew dive over the top rope to take out the Judgment Day. However, from the distraction, Damien Priest was able to hit the South from Heaven for the 1-2-3. A fantastic main event, though. However, it wasn't done yet. Drew McIntyre attacked Damien Priest and cleared out the announce table with malicious intent. But Drew just never learns, does he? Because he got distracted by Michael Cole for calling him a hypocrite from whenever ago, which Priest, takes advantage of by slamming Drew through the table to close the show. Alright, so let's talk. Who's walking out of Clash of the Castle as World Heavyweight Champion? I'm gonna get right to the point. It's Drew McIntyre. He's been on the hunt for so long, and he needs to have this feud with Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. I know a lot of people are saying, well, it doesn't really need the belt, it's so good. Yeah, but it is so good, but it'll be even better with the belt. So just do that. Think about it. Drew beats Damien Priest for the belt. Punk beats Drew for the belt. And that's how we get CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. And from there, I have no idea what's going to happen. Plus, it's in Scotland. It's in his own home country. Let him be happy. Let the fans be happy. They were already disappointed, a couple years ago where Drew lost to Roman Reigns there. So, do this one thing. Come on. Anyways, that was my recap and review of Raw. What'd you think? Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a video of every Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite. And as always, thank you for watching. 100 subscribers.